Joining us now to discuss some of the biggest impacts of DOGE so far, Thomas Savidge with the American Institute for Economic Research and Brandon Arnold with the National Taxpayers Union. Gentlemen, welcome, and thanks for coming on today. Okay, so Thomas, you actually took it a step further, writing in the Washington Times your recommendation for DOGE, and you say DOGE's first target should be Medicare. This is a unique take because we've heard from this administration they're not going after Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Why do you think that's a strong argument?
Well, major health care programs are some of the largest line items in the budget, and a good chunk of those unfunded obligations that are piling up are coming from Medicare. And so the writing is on the wall. If you really want to reform spending, if you want to rein in massive government spending, if you want to control the national debt, you've got to get Medicare under control. And part of that is reducing regulations, reforming how Medicare pays for services as well to ensure that people are getting the best quality of care at a reasonable cost.
Let's talk about the IRS if we can, Brandon. There are massive layoffs there happening, I believe something around 7,000. And I believe you testified on IRS modernization last week. Can you talk about that, the significance of these layoffs, the future of the IRS under a Trump administration and perhaps moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we need to level set on the IRS workforce. Yes, we're over 100,000 employees now, so reducing that number, of course, the left will go bananas about that and say the sky is falling. But, you know, the IRS workforce was a little over 80,000 workers just a few years ago, so we're not going below what it was just a few years before they passed the Inflation Reduction Act and boosted their budget by tens of billions of dollars. So what we're looking at doing here is right-sizing the IRS, making sure that it should be focused on its core mission, which is helping taxpayers navigate a complex tax code and pay what they ought to pay, not a penny more. We shouldn't be spending billions of taxpayer dollars to crack skulls, to go after innocent Americans and innocent businesses and try to squeeze every last penny out of them, which is what the Democrats tried to do under the Inflation Reduction Act.
That's what I always found so bizarre, right? It was President Biden who welcomed in, 8,000 additional IRS agents with the goal of targeting Americans, make sure they're going through their financial records here. And now there's an issue with someone going through the government's finances and records. I mean, it just does not make any sense. And that goes back to your whole point of why are we against finding the waste? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. But they have discovered a decent chunk. And Thomas, that's what I wanted to ask you about. The DOGE refund, the possibility of actually giving their discoveries back to the American taxpayer. You think that's a good idea?
Well, it's definitely a very visible action showing like, hey, here's some of that money back. Of course, we found a ton of waste. But personally, I would prefer that money get spent toward paying down the debt, reducing spending, and then cutting tax rates so that way the money never leaves my wallet in the first place.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thomas Savidge and Brandon Arnold joining us here on this Friday. Enjoy your weekend, gentlemen. Thank you.